So who exactly was Robert Kendo, and what role did he play in the Raccoon City incident, and more importantly, what made this man a hero during the events of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3? So in this video, we'll be answering all those questions and break down how Robert made such an impact during this franchise, where we cover his backstory and see what we can learn from this character before the release of the upcoming Resident Evil 3 remake.
I kill you what?
So before we do get started with the video, I just want to say my name's DeVuH, and I do cover a lot of Resident Evil and other survival horror media topics on my channel. So if you guys are interested in these types of videos, then please feel free to like and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and also possibly adding me both on Instagram and on Twitter, where you guys can message me there personally at any time.
What? What do you think you're talking about?
Okay, so before we cover Robert Kendo during the events of the new RE3 Remake, let's go ahead and discuss his very first iteration in this franchise, starting with his conceptual character role in what was supposed to be the original RE2, better known as Resident Evil 1.5, because in this early version of the game, he was actually first known as John, a character who was supposed to help Elsa Walker, the main female protagonist in this original concept of the game, before changing her into Claire Redfield in the final version.
I got this.
Anyways, going back to John, like I mentioned earlier, he would assist Elsa in her journey during her campaign, and was known to be locked up in the cellar in the underground area of the RPD station, similar to what we saw with Ben Bartolucci and how he was inside the jail cell to keep the monsters away from him, which in the end didn't pan out so well.
Just get me the fuck out of here!
Also, John in this case would be a friend to one of the RPD's officers by the name of Roy, who would assist Elsa in freeing John eventually from his cell, but would have the unfortunate end of being infected, causing John to make the tough decision and end Roy's life once finally turning into a zombie, almost having a similar role to Marvin Branagh, and how he assisted the main character before turning into a zombie himself.
We both know how this is going to end.
Anyways, going back to Robert Kendo, or John, this early concept of this character ends here, especially with the limited amount of data we've seen through the years about this first concept of RE2, which it would have been nice to see Kendo have a larger role in the finished product, because let's go ahead and move on to his official debut in the Resident Evil franchise, and how his main impact in the game was cut so soon, with our first interaction with him happening just after we escaped the tanker accident near his gun shop.
Head to the station. I'll meet you there.
Okay.
Where we had to navigate our way around the many zombies in the streets until we finally are greeted by him in this small cutscene.
Freeze! Who are you? What are you doing here?
Don't shoot! I'm a human!
Whew. Sorry about that, babe. I thought you were one of them.
What's going on in this town?
Hold on. I ain't got no clue, darling. By the time I noticed something was wrong, the entire city was infested with zombies.
So after hearing his points of view, it really does set up the mystery surrounding this catastrophe and how the ordinary civilians were blindsided by the T-virus outbreak. Also, depending on which character we choose as our main protagonist, Kendo will have a slightly different narrative when we interact with him.
But don't you worry, girlie. You'll be safe in here. I'm keeping a close eye on things. But you should be safe inside here. I'm keeping a close eye on things.
But after this small interaction with Kendo, his life was cut short when a group of zombies attacks him by surprise, again really setting up the tone for this game, making you feel powerless, especially after seeing Kendo be taken down even when using a heavier firearm. Also, it doesn't matter on what we do or if we try to help, because this event will happen regardless if we watch it or not, because even if we do leave his gun shop into the back alleyway, we'll still hear him be attacked by the hordes of zombies, with the only caveat with us going back is trying to retrieve the shotgun from him if we play as Leon, or a bowgun if we play as Claire. Also on a quick note, if we played Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles, we won't even get a chance to interact with him due to the zombies already being in the gun shop and taking him out so early. But all in all, that would be the main premise of Kendo in the original RE2, but if we dig deeper, we can actually find files, notes, and other miscellaneous information about him during the Raccoon City incident, because it was stated in one of the notes that he was giving away a lot of his caches to the civilians of Raccoon City, trying to arm them against a growing horde of zombies, which in doing so would have Kendo give away one of Barry Burns' custom weapons, the Raging Bull.
What? Keep dreaming.
Which, if you guys didn't know, Barry Burton, who was one of the members of the RPD Stars team that we saw in Resident Evil 1, was actually a good friend of Robert and would be the main supplier of the Stars members' weapons arsenal, with the most famous out of these is called the Samurai Edge, a custom handgun specifically made for each member of the Stars unit, being known to be balanced with the way it carries, allowing its users to have better accuracy and feel for the weapon.
Holy fuck.
You can't have her! She left her!
Which this tidbit was interesting to find out and made me wonder why didn't this exactly make its way to some type of interaction that indicated Robert to have a much larger role during the first 3 Resident Evil games, because besides the fact that he gave the Stars unit their signature weapon, or the fact that he was a good friend of Barry, which I wish they could have explored more upon, especially after Kendo left a note about them fishing after dealing with the T-virus outbreak, and also it would have been nice to see Kendo handing out the weapons from his gun shop, being so selfless, and doing everything he can to help anyone during this catastrophe, which his role kinda reminds me of Andy from the movie Dawn of the Dead, and how Andy was a gun shop owner stuck right in the middle of a zombie outbreak, who would eventually lose his life after being attacked.
No!
Anyways, going back to Kendo, with his minor role in his debut in RE2, where it didn't give a full picture and omitted the fact that he was a true hero during this outbreak, but with this new iteration of RE2 Remake and the upcoming Resident Evil 3 Remake, Robert Kendo would have his role slightly tweaked, now giving him a different narrative of a heartbroken father who lost his wife and eventually his daughter, because in the Remake's version, even though short was his interaction with us, he quickly gave such an impact during the game, making us players feel for his character after witnessing the outbreak firsthand, and at the same time trying to console his daughter even when it's evident that she's completely infected.
Before she turns.
Terminate. It's my fucking daughter. Ada. Just let them be. Emma? Sweetheart, I told you to stay put.
Daddy.
Yeah, Daddy's here. Come here. Okay? Those fucking things outside. What they did to us. You're a cop. You're supposed to know something. How did this happen? Huh?
Also, what's more disturbing is the events after taking his daughter back inside his house, and we get to hear this.
You know, it's one thing to keep the truth from me, but why him?
Letting us players imagine the horror inside, having a father make the decision of ending both his and his daughter's life. But this solemn state of Kendo's fate would be reiterated with the RE2 Remake's DLC, letting us see an alternative scenario of Kendo not pulling the trigger and see him take the chance of trying to escape Raccoon City, giving us a small sigh of relief that in an alternative world, maybe somehow Robert was able to have a decent ending and possibly reunite with his friend Barry after the T-virus outbreak. But if we go back to the canon storyline, especially with Resident Evil 3 Remake in the horizon, we find out later that the devs added some small tidbits of information for us to connect both RE2 and RE3. with this being a file from Jill Valentine and how she sent him a letter letting him know that she's there if his other arrangements doesn't pan out, which is a great nod to Robert and letting us know that his role of assisting the STARS members goes beyond just being their weapons guy, which makes me speculate if we'll get to see an interaction between Jill and Robert and see the events before what we see from RE2 Remake, because remember that the events in RE3 happens before and after RE2, so it wouldn't be out of line to see Robert Kendo make a small cameo during Jill Valentine's campaign in RE3 Remake. If anything, we may see how Robert loses his wife and eventually explains how his daughter gets infected. Also, there could be a possibility of him helping Jill take down Nemesis, especially with all his weapons arsenal cache. But in the end, Robert Kendo was a great character to have in this franchise, and it was amazing to find out that he was friends with Barry and he tried to assist as many citizens of Raccoon City before the events of Resident Evil 3, and only time will tell on how much of an impact he'll make once RE3 Remake is finally released. Anyways, what do you guys think about Robert Kendo as a character, and what would you guys like to see from him in Resident Evil 3 Remake? Please let me know your thoughts and why he was a great character in the comment section down below. Also, if you guys enjoyed these types of videos of background lore, character and monster analysis, then please feel free to check out my many other videos on my channel with similar topics. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and as always, you guys have a great rest of your day, and this is Hey DeVuH, and I'll see you guys on the next video.